So first off, I guess I should say, don't try any of this at home. Don't try to recreate any of this. Okay. This topic is very interesting to me personally, but we're going to start with why this is important. I'm going to show you a clip that is the precursor and the context to all this. And after you watch this, it's going to show you exactly why you should find the rest of this interesting. So the reason that you should care and why it is important is precisely because of this.
Today's special episode of Mythbusters, the myth we're busting, comes courtesy of a very special guest.
In fact, here he is.
Hey, guys.
So what can we do for you?
Well, it is Archimedes' solar ray.
Well, that is a classic.
It is a classic, and so I'm hoping that we can take one more crack at it.
When the Mythbusters duplicated his ancient design,
It's 280 degrees!
it failed to fuel a fire.
I'm standing right in it.
So they reloaded the ray with the help of MIT and 300 mirrors.
Look at that!
But that still didn't set this myth alight. Which leaves Adam with a burning question.
If you don't mind me saying so, sir, what do you think we actually got wrong on this?
Well, there's one thing you didn't do.
What, manpower?
Exactly.
So if we could get a whole bunch of people, like 500 people, each with their own mirror, we might just be able to test this. All right, soldiers, you're doing a fantastic job. I'd like everyone to take their mirrors off the target briefly and take a deep breath with me. Inhale. Exhale.
And with the black sun at 230 degrees, that's a long way off.
So, okay, what we learned from that, or what just happened, is, so, the president at the time was like, hey, you guys have already busted this myth, but try it again. So not only is this myth something that people don't think is really possible or doable, or yeah, they couldn't pull it off, so it's not possible, and so what's weird about that to me is, okay, so they did it, and it should, that should have settled it. But then the president, of all people, the one thing that he wants to know about, the president apparently wants to know about, is the Archimedes thing. Oh, okay, for some reason he thinks they need to go back to the drawing board and try something else. And so, okay. And then they try again, and they fail, or they don't do it again. They reconfirm to the president, and, a second time that, oh, it's not doable, it's not possible. And so I don't know if they're insulting our intelligence on purpose, or if I'm really smarter than them. I don't think that that's it, though. But so I can tell you exactly, right off the bat, what's wrong about this thing. Okay, so I can see how they're doing it wrong on purpose, or they're putting things in place to make sure it doesn't work. And so if they all had their mirrors, and there was a bunch of people, and they just had regular flat mirrors, that would work to maybe start a fire, if it was super close. They'd have to bring that boat way closer, first of all. Because even if all of those people had parabolic mirrors, here's what's interesting. Here's what they might not have actually known. Because they could have given them parabolic mirrors to where their focal point actually did hit that boat. Oh, all these people are converging this big light beam onto this boat. It still wouldn't have worked because of the distance. Heat dissipates so much through the air from like photons or something with distance. I realized that. I was able to achieve like 1400 degrees from 20 feet, but that was like the pinnacle of my, I was able to melt pennies from about 25 feet away with a parabolic mirror. We're going to watch this whole thing. And so, but you can do a distance thing, but it has to be measured accurately, and it has to be the right distance compared to the size and everything. The Archimedes thing, I'm like 98% sure, was a lighthouse. Back in the day, they had lighthouses. They didn't have light bulbs. It's historically known they had big parabolic mirrors in towers. Polished bronze mirrors. It's not even a secret, like, Google it. Or I have a whole giant thing about this. It's like a 4-hour long thing, just pretty much debunking and proving this whole thing. And so, it would be a giant parabolic mirror. It wouldn't be a bunch of people with mirrors. It wouldn't be this or that. It wouldn't be a big circular mirror array. No, it's one giant parabolic mirror. And if they were to recreate that, if they were to do that, if they were to make a giant 10-meter in diameter polished bronze parabolic mirror and put it in a lighthouse, I guarantee you it would do the Archimedes thing. It would actually be more destructive probably, because it would be, watch my thing on it. We know that a giant lighthouse mirror would focus enough sunlight to cause a lot of destruction. And that's like real physics and history and stuff. And so you should check out my thing on that. Because I'm pretty sure I'm one of the only people that's like caught onto this or whatever. Or it's just a big cover up. Because yeah, even Obama in here is like, oh no, yeah, I guess they just failed again. So it would have to be pretty much a lighthouse in order to, they should recreate that and show how that would totally work and totally would be a thing. And so they couldn't make it work on here, but I know exactly why. And so I'm going to show you that it does work under a lot of circumstances. Okay, so I guess I should maybe back up and clear something up real quick. So, for those of you that don't know what a parabolic mirror is, it's a mirror that is curved inwards. And I make those by taking mylar, which is like reflective kind of material that's like almost like balloon material, I guess. Because you put it over something circular and then you can suck the air out of it. And like when you put it over the thing, it makes it a flat mirror, and that just reflects the reflection of the surface onto the wall. But then when you suck the air out of it, you'll notice that that spot of light will slowly get smaller because the mirror is curving in as you take the air out of it. And so for this to work with the Archimedes thing, it would have to be a parabolic mirror. Like, definitely. Has to be a parabolic mirror. And it probably has to be a big one. You know, it doesn't have to be a big one to catch fires, but to work that far away, like for it to work with the boats and the, you know, I'm willing to bet a lighthouse one would work. And so I'm a little confused about the Archimedes thing because I'm like, do people really not think that you can burn ships or like burn things with mirrors? And then I was like, it's weird that they think that you can't start fires with sunlight and mirrors, like when you can totally do way more than that. Like the reason that I like just automatically know that you can start fires with mirrors is because you can melt rocks with mirrors. So if you can melt rocks with sunlight, you can start fires. You know what I mean? And so when I was playing with all these parabolic mirrors, I was more so trying to melt rocks. I wasn't even trying to start fire. I knew that I could start fire. And you know, I kind of learned that I could start fire from a distance, and it was news to me when I figured out that I could melt a penny from across my yard. But so, I'm glad I experimented with that. So, yeah, the conclusion I came to is, yeah, Archimedes' death ray thing, you could totally light a fire from just about any distance with the right kind of mirror. You can even get way hotter than that. And to be honest, mostly what they used this for in antiquity, I believe, was melting stones and melting rocks.
With a 5-meter diameter lens, the temperature reaches 1,800 degrees to 2,000 degrees Celsius. The Egyptians have just discovered solar energy. Everything is melted, nothing can resist. Granite literally melts at once, like lava. The Egyptians poured this lava into clay molds. And here is the famous statue of the 3rd dynasty, Huni, the grandfather of Khufu, in Aswan granite. Vases harder than steel, like these in tracheandesite, dating from at least 3500 BC.
What I was trying to do with it, I was like, okay, I know that you can start fire, but I'm trying to see if you can actually melt rocks with it. So I was trying to make one big enough to melt rocks. You want to see a magic trick? I'm going to make this penny disappear. Put it in this piece of wood. Too bad it didn't drip onto the board. It turned into liquid and dripped off. I watched it drip, but it didn't drip onto the board. Damn. That would have been cool to have a dripping penny. But I mean, it is gone. Ta-da! You know, it's times like this where I start to feel a little bit like a mad scientist. And I wonder if I've maybe gone a little bit too far. Maybe just a little bit too far. So, Exhibit A. And okay, some of these scenes are going to be sped up just for the sake of time. In case you're wondering, like, oh, this is sped up. It is, yeah. So, yeah, I did put them on fast forward, so. Okay, so this is actually made of a table. And it might be hard to kind of think about what it looked like before. So just to kind of give you an idea. Okay, so it's a table like this. Great. I took a table. I took the glass out of it. And I just kind of made this area closed off by just saran wrap, duct tape. And I had to put cardboard to block this area so that it looks like a bowl. But it used to be a table like this, and now it looks like a bowl. So I don't really have a picture of what it looked like before, but that's what this is. It used to look like this. I had to make it look like this, painstakingly. And so this wasn't as straightforward as I'd hoped or I thought it would be when I first went into this. I was just like, oh yeah, get some Mylar, put it over some things, take the air out. But it turned into a whole thing. It took me like months of like fiddling around with this, and I learned things that I didn't even try to. I learned a lot about this stuff. And here, it's something interesting is I'll even throw in a little fun little tidbit of information of something weird that's relevant about this whole thing. Okay, so I kind of started looking into the ancient optics things because I heard it's what they used to melt the granite for the pyramids, right? Oh, part of the lost technology and lost method for the pyramids was solar energy and melting stuff with a big mirror lens. But another weird thing that's interesting is, okay, I realized when you hear about like healing crystals, oh, back in antiquity, healing meant physical injuries. They didn't recognize diseases as like medical things. Back in antiquity, when they're talking about healing crystals, people fail to recognize all the time that they're talking about healing physical wounds of the body. And so what's interesting about that is you can use a crystal or a diamond or quartz or any number of gems to focus sunlight to cauterize wounds. And that's like a very sterilized method of being able to clean and heal your wounds. And so what's interesting about that is you can use a crystal or something for that even if it doesn't start a fire. Because you need to reach like 450 degrees to start things on fire, like even wood or cloth or anything. Okay, so if you have a crystal that only gets to about like 200 degrees, oh, it won't start a fire, but it will cauterize a wound. And so it's interesting, you start seeing glass balls on sticks that they find at this battlefield, and they think they're religious scepters. Oh, they found a battlefield with a bunch of religious scepters, and they're a bunch of glass balls on sticks, and we don't know why they walked into the battlefield with these. And so it's funny because you realize that, okay, they weren't meant to be broken over people, and they just use a glass weapon. No, they're used to cauterize wounds and or burn people with it. But it's funny because there's so much evidence to back this up. But so it's funny because you realize that people overlook that because they probably realize that, oh, these things, they might focus a little bit of sunlight, but it's not like they're fire starting tools or whatever. They don't realize that they get just hot enough to cauterize wounds or just hot enough to hurt and be used as a weapon. Oh, it can cauterize and burn you before it burns anything else. And so you can use crystals, healing things for that. And so I can't help it, there's something there. Oh, and then the symbol of medicine is a ball on a stick with a snake on it. Oh, you want to know why that is? I don't think anybody knows this. I think this has been forgotten. I think that this is something that my crackhead ass freaking Da Vinci coded this and like National Treasure this. No, but so you want to know what that is? So you see the symbol of medicine and okay, you just see it like this. And since it doesn't have texture or color or whatever, since we're just seeing a silhouette, I'm willing to bet that's a glass ball on that stick. People just don't realize that. Oh, why would there be a glass ball as the symbol of medicine? Oh, because of what I just said. How one of the first healing tools or whatever was a glass ball on a stick. Oh, isn't that weird? The only medical tool from antiquity, or a divine healing tool, or one of the first breakthroughs in medical technology was a glass ball on a stick that cauterized wounds. And so I can't help but think that that's that for the symbol of medicine. Oh, but then why is there a snake on it? I'm glad you asked. Or even if you didn't. You want to know why there's a snake on it? I'll tell you exactly why there's a snake on it. Because anti-venom was the first crossing over of that bridge between healing things with a glass ball on a stick, oh, physical injuries. Anti-venom was the first thing that had to cross that bridge into disease territory or you know, biology kind of cures and you know what I mean? Like it went over from physical injuries to like actual diseases and sicknesses. Because anti-venom was the first thing of that. That happened even in ancient Egypt. There's legends that the pharaohs used to be immune to snake bites. It's because they had anti-venom when people didn't even realize that that was a thing or possible. And so what they talk about doing is they talk about having a snake bite a horse. And then you take the horse's blood and do something with it, and that creates anti-venom. But so snakes, and in that whole process, you manipulating the snake and doing that whole thing to make you immune to it, it was the first kind of medicine. Snakebite antivenom was literally the beginning and the precursor to vaccines and stuff. And then that's what opened their whole thinking into things could be on a molecular level or whatever like that. And so that creates this whole off branch of what medical stuff even is. Oh, now it has to do with the stuff that we can't even see, and these chemicals and these venoms and stuff, and these anti-venoms. But so I'm thoroughly convinced that that's why that's the symbol of medicine. Oh, a glass ball and a stick with a snake on it. Because that was the first medical technology and the first medical breakthrough that brought it to being a thing about diseases. And I don't think anybody's ever thought about that. And so I can already hear some people asking, oh, well, then what are the wings about? You didn't explain the wings. The wings were pretty random. Those don't make any sense. What about those? And so, okay. Might seem a little random and out of nowhere, but okay. The winged sun disk. Okay. When you think about the sun disk being, well, sun disk. Oh, but that definitely had to do with the sun. And so it's weird that it has to do with light and sun, and then the wings, and then that looks like that. And then there's even snakes there, so that's interesting. But then it seems kind of totally unrelated. But then the Knights Templar logo is also there. So, you know, that's also, you know, maybe it's totally unrelated, but, you know, I don't know.
So I'm doing an experiment. It's like 95 degrees outside. So, but with this contraption, see this bee's nest? Yeah, so bee's nest. They don't like that spotlight. I think I came up with some non-lethal sort of alternative. Or, you know, at least it's chemical free and it won't burn the house. And I don't even think it burns them or the nest really. And they don't think it's me. I'm pretty sure they just think the area is cursed. I just have to readjust it every now and again. So, I did a little bit of experimentation. That's the one I vaporized a penny with. That one's like 3 times bigger. Alrighty, so. Might have gone a little overboard, but I had to really test this out. This is just for redirecting light. This isn't parabolic. But these are. This one, this one, this one. Planter box, lid, lampshade, planner, Tupperware. That's for redirecting also. This is the newest one. Like, because I got big ones like these two, but see, they don't go very far in. But yeah, there's these two. These are probably like 4 feet. Because yeah, they don't even have to be circular. These square ones work. And that one, that's another planter box one. And those are kind of just the ones that survived. But yeah, freaking these things. Oh yeah, this one wasn't in the shop. But so this thing, this is probably like the best one. Other than the big ones. But this is probably the best one. I mean, they're all different shapes and sizes, and I feel like it definitely like matters, the shape and size. It's like, it's all specific and weird. But so, you know, I probably shouldn't really be telling you guys this or whatever. But so this is like, I feel like everybody has one of these in their house. This is one of these things. If you have one of these things, you can pretty much make a Fresnel lens pretty much with one of those and $5. Because what you do is if you take that off, you see the middle of it, like if you think of it as a boob, the nipple of it screws off, right? And there's a hole right there. And so, but you can take that off. And so Mylar, if you go on Amazon, there's like 6 packs for $5. And they're there's 6 sheets of like freaking like 6 feet by 6 feet squares. Like if you buy a 6-pack, you have like a whole football field of like Mylar film, it seems like. So it's pretty much a dime a dozen, right? The film is like super cheap. And then you just get glue and you glue it on here. And you glue this. This is like a stopcock or whatever. Like this is a medical syringe kind of like thing. And I kind of just like glued it in here. And I glued it on here. And this thing can melt a hole through a penny. I mean, it takes a few minutes, but it's funny, so does my Fresnel lens. Like I bought a Fresnel lens off the internet that's literally made for solar experiments. And it was like $70. And it's like made for like focusing sunlight. And it reaches 2000 degrees Fahrenheit. And it melts pennies after like a minute or like 2, and that's exactly what this thing will do. That thing will vaporize pennies instantly, but this thing will this thing will definitely start fires.
This one I like because I put a little stopcock right for the syringe. I can screw it on there. Close the thing, take it off, push the air out. Let's see, it's already kind of parabolic right now. Yeah, I don't know if you can tell, but like when you look at your reflection in it, it's like a makeup mirror. Like it makes your face look hella big, like you can see all your pores and everything. But yeah, then I can take more air out. Screw it back on, pop the thing. Close the thing. See how it's like zooming in the more air I take out? I don't know if you can really tell or whatever. But, and then put it back on. Open the thing. See, it like zooms in and take more air out. And the cool thing about this one is you can adjust the focal length with this back part as it goes. But see, maybe you can see it zoom out this time. So yeah, if you want to make a makeup mirror, I guess just get Mylar, stretch it over something, make it airtight, suck the air out.
This thing is like, if you wanted to weaponize this, you don't have to use a vacuum to take out any air out of this. And you can just do it with your hands. And look, it can reach everywhere.
I know that some of you are probably going to be like, oh, they didn't have vacuums back then, and they didn't have Mylar film. So it's not like they were going to be sucking air out of these mirrors. But it's like, okay, so they don't have to be adjustable to work, right? The polished bronze mirrors that they had in lighthouses, they were parabolic, but they had a specific curvature, which means it didn't have to have the air sucked out of it. I only suck the air out of these to like make the focal point change, but yeah, when it's a fixed mirror and depth and parabola and everything, then it has a specific focal point, and you know. Okay, so
That's a pretty decent distance, you'd say, right? Like from that thing to that thing? Because I don't know why this thing won't fucking, or why I can't fucking see the screen at all. It's kind of really fucking stupid. Okay, so it's 14 feet away. Okay, so yeah, at about 14 feet, it gets to be 1,000 degrees. It's like the whole tape measure pretty much. Yep, 14 feet, 1,000 degrees. Actually, over 1,000 degrees, like 1,100. So, and the closer it gets, the hotter, because you know it has to travel through the air. Like it has to go pretty far, and it loses energy and heat as it travels the distance. And so, when I move this a lot closer, and I pull the focal point in, it gets a lot hotter.
And it's funny, only one time pretty much, like, this was like the pinnacle of my everything. Like, in this video, I actually, like, this is mission accomplished. I finally did what I've been trying to do for months. And so in this video, you can barely even tell what I'm doing, but what happens in this is I take all of the area of that giant table mirror. I took all 5 feet of that light surface, and I scrunched it all the way down to the size of a dime, which is supposed to be really powerful. You know, if you're able to take 5 feet and scrunch it down to a dime, it's pretty much supposed to be a laser beam. And it was. It was a short-lived one, but because as soon as it got that small and it covered the penny was just gone. Like I watched the spotlight get smaller and smaller, and as soon as it like totally covered it, penny just disappeared. And it's funny because yeah, it's like all that light, all that sunlight converting into like a small area. That was like totally mission accomplished. And it's funny because you can't even tell that this is actually all the way like scrunched to its smallest possible point. Like you can't even tell until you put like the glasses on, and then you can see it. And it kind of looks like a sun because you know these little things that come off of it. But see, that's what's interesting is because yeah, those things don't really count because think of it like the sun. Oh, the sun is one bright little spot, and the stuff just shines off of it. Okay, well, when you see the stuff shining off of this middle part, it's interesting to think that, no, yeah, that means you have all the light converted just about. And it's just so bright that it's kind of shining off like that. But so this was definitely mission accomplished because this is what it looks like when you get it all the way scrunched to its smallest point. And it's funny because you can't even tell that it's its smallest possible point until you put the glasses on. And so I thought that was interesting. I was like, oh. And so it's interesting that, like, sorry if this sounds irrelevant or off topic, but I'm going to touch on something from my video about this. So I'm pretty sure that they called the big solar tool the Eye of Ra. It's like the eye of the sun. Like, and so it's interesting that when you look at like a dollar bill, right? And there's like the eye of the sun, and it's always above a pyramid, right? And like that's the Illuminati thing, right? Oh, that's what the symbol of one of the biggest conspiracies is the eye with the sun, and you know, and so what it really is it's a symbol of enlightenment, technically, but that is saying it's the eye of the sun, and it is hinting to a pyramid thing, and that's a little weird. But so what's actually kind of weird about that though is if you get a light and a pyramid. I found out how to make the Knights Templar logo with light and a pyramid. And this was super random and maybe not related, but I can't help but think that it's kind of related. But because I was like, okay, so what does this even mean? That this is like from like a shadow or like a projection of this? Like I don't even know. But so it's weird because yeah, then I pulled it up in Blender and I tried to see if I could get the same thing to happen in Blender. And like yeah, then I started seeing like different versions of that logo based on like the angle of the light. Because like the Knights Templar logo has like 70 different versions. Like sometimes it has a frill at the end, sometimes it has like a straight, sometimes it has a flat one. And it's like, yeah, so, but then I started to see all those versions with playing with, maybe I'm thinking too much about it. But the Knights Templar logo definitely comes from this doing a thing. And it's weird that there's a light right here on the pyramid. I can't help but think that there's something there. And you want to know how else you can see the Knights Templar logo? Sorry to go into this again. If you just look into a parabolic mirror. Oh, if you have a metal bowl that's circular, you look at it and you realize that the way the light bends kind of looks like the Knights Templar logo. Maybe I'm thinking too much about it. I always thought it was a sun, a very abstract, stylized sun. But and all that might seem just totally random and unrelated and irrelevant and just totally wrong and like it's just totally unrelated. But then, what's weird is when you look at pictures of Archimedes' death ray, there's a few classic pictures of it, right? But one of them is this. And in this one, he has a flat mirror. But look at the mirror. I did not edit this photo at all. You can even look it up online and look at it, that I didn't edit this. This is this. That can't be a coincidence, right? Like that is totally, you know what I mean? Because that's supposed to be an Archimedes death ray. That's what that's a picture of. But it is a flat mirror. But it has that. Hinting that maybe it's not. I don't know. You know what I mean, though?
Okay, so this has been my experimentation station. So this rock eventually broke apart. You can tell where it melted on the front. Yeah, kind of like just kind of broke from the center. Okay, so yeah, broken granite. This thing's broken. This rock. It's kind of been blasting apart rocks. I've been trying to melt them, but they kind of just break apart before they melt. But that just means I haven't gotten hot enough yet. But I have sometimes because it's possible, it's doable, and I have done it. Because this is melted. That's melted. This even has a penny melted onto the back of it, or something melted on the back of it. So those are melted. This is like the progression of the burning penny. Up until like vaporization. Or this. This is interesting because what this is the penny was liquefied, and as it hit the ground, it cooled and it went into the dirt and kind of in like a weird pattern as it solidified, and it made like this weird spiky ball. If you heat it past this point, it'll vaporize. This is when it turns into liquid and kind of like hits the ground. But sometimes that liquid turns into ashes and blows away. But yeah, I didn't really mean to make all the progression of melting the penny, but I just did so many that I was kind of able to just put that together like that. And this rock was on the verge of giving up, it seems. Maybe I'll get it to break eventually. This one cracked in kind of a cool way. Okay, so something interesting about this whole thing. Incense creates smoke, right? And smoke reveals light.
So I've realized that if you want to get enough smoke to see the light path, the whole atmosphere has to be like thick. Like you have to be able to see the air pretty much. You have to fill all of the air with smoke. And you know, like when you're outside or whatever, it's very hard to fill the outside area with smoke. I mean, you can. Interestingly enough, you can create enough stuff to make the outside area foggy or whatever. Or, you know what would work better? Burning a bundle of sage. Oh, it's funny because it's almost like they're trying to figure out how to make more smoke. When you're burning a smudge stick like of sage, it's almost like what you're really doing is trying to make as much smoke as possible. So if you're trying to reveal this light path, yeah, dude, incense, smudge sticks, all these candles, when they say they're creating an atmosphere for the divine to become present or for the divine to manifest, this light path tool thing, they would want to know where the focal point is. And it's just like, you'd only be able to find it with this. So these help you with your solar equipment. They help you be better with it. You know what I mean? There we go. There's those spirits we were looking for. Or something, or whatever the fuck. And so there's the focal point. Something, right? There. See where it gets to its smallest point. But it's the same thing that this does. See, they do the same thing with about the same amount of light. The conclusion I came to, just because I didn't do it, doesn't mean it's not possible. Yeah, I pretty much came to the conclusion that yes, you can totally melt rocks with the sunlight. I just didn't pull it off totally. I mean, I did, but I didn't like melt it into magma and make it into a statue like I wanted. But yeah, so my conclusion was that it's possible, but I couldn't do it. You probably just need a way bigger one. But yeah, I've done it on a small scale. So yeah, anyways.
Okay, so this might look a little ridiculous. That's because it is. But no, so this was a table and it had just like a little kind of thing right here. And I had to put cardboard to block this area. And then just a bunch of duct tape and saran wrap and trash bags and just a bunch of stuff. Just pretty much all sorts of stuff, just trying to create a barrier around here because this whole area was open. And then so this is what it looks like up on a side. It's kind of hard to get it in the frame or see what it even is, but and then yeah, put this airtight little valve right here so you can close and open this valve to take the air out. Yeah, just a little valve. This probably isn't gonna be what it looks like. You're seeing the underlying construction that's just creating the layer or the barrier. And then, but yeah, you almost have no idea how many of these have popped on me. Like on this one part of this video where you see the rock shoot out. So at least 3 times rock chunks have flown off
and flown through the mirror. And so when the molten rock flies off, it punctures a hole through the mirror, and then it's ruined. Like totally ruined once it gets popped. Then I gotta start all over again. And yeah, sometimes it takes like a day for the adhesive to like stay, and then so it's like you wait a day just for like it to actually work, and then because it works, the rock blows up and it pops your thing. You know what that. Okay, here we go. It's hard to tell, but there you go. You can kind of see it, right? It's a little too big to kind of show what's happening, but yeah, big circular mirror. Alrighty, so here we go. Finally sort of perfected it. You can kind of tell that it's zoomed in. Anyways. Okay, so. See how it's putting all the light over there? Big mirror, light over there, right? It's taking that light and putting it over there. Okay. So, see, if that was sunlight, my house would be hurting right now. You see how perfectly that's crunched into a ball? All the stuff on the outside is just, doesn't even count. Sorry, I'm just so proud of this mirror, because when I made the big drum barrel one, like it's about the size of like maybe like a bass drum of like a drum set, like the big round floor bass drum things. So when I made that one, that was like significantly bigger than all the other ones that I'd made. I thought that that big drum barrel thingy was going to be like the biggest one I'd be able to make. I scoured up and down all over looking for something that would be as big as I could possibly make one. And I was using planners and all sorts of things, and like lampshades and light fixtures and all these things. And then when I found that big barrel, I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's like way bigger than all of them. And so I thought that that was going to be like my big Bertha, you know, that's my big experiment. Like that's the big one that's in a league of its own. And I thought for sure that that was going to be like the biggest one that I'd be able to make. And then I saw that table and I felt like a genius. I was like, oh my gosh, because that's like 3 times bigger than the other one, which is why I say it's unnecessarily big, because the big drum barrel one, that one is able to melt pennies like pretty much instantly, and it can like vaporize pennies even, and it can blast apart rocks, and it can do pretty much everything that I kind of wanted to do with it. But so that big one does the job. Oh, it can blast rocks apart. It can even melt pennies. I'm satisfied. And then when I saw the table, I was like, oh, that's way bigger. So yeah, that's the one I'm proud of, because all the other ones that I've seen online, it's like they don't even have ones that big. Like, I'm pretty sure I have the biggest one now. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just proud of that one. But I have a whole thing on this. If you could watch my other video, I do a super deep dive. It's actually really interesting. That has to do with melting rocks and how we know that happened, and, you know, the Bronze Age. And it's a deep dive. You know, I spent almost a year on it. And this video is just kind of all my solar experiments, because I figured I would just put all these in a separate video. But this video and that video are kind of related. They should go together. This, in a way, is probably just kind of a commercial or an ad or whatever, trying to make you interested in going to watch the one that I poured all my heart and soul into. But this is part of it. When you're watching that video, it'll tell you to come to this one, to watch all my solar experiments. So, anyways, be nice to each other. Have a good one. Till next time.